Get done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome to another session of the Business Renovator. I am Coach Phil, or my christened name is Phil Jilks. I'm happy that you're here. If you're watching it live today, I appreciate you being here. And if you're watching it on a replay, just remember hashtag replay and let us know where you're watching it from. The other thing I will ask is if you know somebody that would benefit by having an opportunity to share their story, do an introduction. Let's get them. Let's get their voice heard. Just never know whose life we may impact, even if it's only one. Wouldn't that be amazing to know that you helped with that? I'm really excited about the topic today. Why is profit isn't a dirty word? But before we get into that, here's a video from our sponsor. Welcome back. If you are a business owner and you have a question for a business coach, guess what? It's your lucky day. There's two of us on the show from Focal Point. So if you have a question for a business coach, you'll be able to reach out to us and set up a time for us to have a 20-minute coaching call with you. No strings attached. Just ask a question and you can have an experience with one of us. And if we don't have the answer, guess what? There's a couple of hundred others around the globe. We'll point you in the right direction. You can have a conversation with them. We're here to help, here to serve. On that note, my guest is an interesting dude. He's a doctor, actually. Terry Daniels. He is the owner and president of Competitive Edge Business Solutions, Inc. He is a certified focal point business and executive coach. See, I told you, the two of us. And he currently serves as executive director of the Foundry Christian Community Center. He's a pastor, and he's been a pastor for quite a few years, 25 plus years at one church, and he's in pastor of the Transformation Christian Center in Bowling Green. He's also serves as a vice president of human resources for the chamber in the same area, Bowling Green, and he's the servant leader and has a passion for partnering with organizations, executives, entrepreneurs to help them see and keep their eye on their prize. He began his career in manufacturing, starting on the production floor at Holly Carburetor. I think those things make cars go faster. If I remember, I'm not a mechanic, but I believe that's what they were manufactured for. And from there, he went into Country Oven Bakery and Logan Aluminum. And depending whether you're in North America or in Europe, I mean, aluminium or aluminum. It's a short choice. We go with either way. And let's see, 27 years professional career. He has been a proven track record of leading successful human resource teams, coaching leaders, building sustainable workplace cultures, and produce exceptional business results. He's traveled nationally, supporting many locations, and also internationally to support operations in China, Japan, Germany, and France. I never thought to ask him if he spoke all four languages. Anyway, we can find that out. You can ask that question in the comments if you're here. He's married to Rita, and he has three sons, Tyler, Taylor, and Tanner. His wife is the principal of the Moss Middle School, and he's a native to Bowling Green, Kentucky. He's a doctor, as we mentioned, and he recently got his doctorate in July of 2018, if I'm reading this properly. And he's a published author, a co-author of a book, The Power of Purpose, and his most recent book is The Bullpen, Battle Tested to be a Game Changer. I can't wait to bring him up. Here is Dr. Terry Daniels. Good day, sir.
Thank you. Hey, Coach Phil, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
Awesome.
So what's put a step in your step today?
You know, I tell you what, Phil, Coach Phil, this is the opportunity to really impact and change lives is exactly what, puts the pep in my step. If I get a chance, if I wake up it is another opportunity. Okay, so I'm taking it full steam. So give me the day, and I'm gonna own the day.
Awesome. So Eric's a funny dude. He's a brilliant seller of making pizzas better. He said, "You're so accomplished, your whole intro is taken up." That happens sometimes, Eric. I get some quality people here, buddy.
Thanks, Eric.
Anyway, so our topic today is why profit isn't a dirty word. Now, in getting to know you a little bit, you actually can talk to this about this firsthand because you grew up in that place
Yeah.
of poverty, right? It was
Yeah.
a tough life in that way.
Yeah, and actually, Coach Phil, you're exactly right. One of the things that I've seen happen in my life, as one of my clients, the Foundry Christian Community Center, that's part of my client portfolio, and they are a preschool where we teach 3, 4, and 5 year olds. And the aim that we have with the preschool and the students, the families, and even the West End is the most impoverished area of Bowling Green, is how do we break the cycle of poverty? And the thing about the school is that that school is where I went as a boys' club when I was around 8 or 9 years old, because I grew up as one of 9 children, very poor in that general area of the neighborhood. And so I've gone full circle growing up in poverty, but now I'm in a place where I'm trying to break the cycle of poverty with those children.
And how are they receiving? Are they?
It's a challenge because, again, just like me, it's all we knew. I mean, if I think about my own personal life, we didn't hear the word profit or anything related to that, or prosperity. All we knew was poverty. So 3 P words. We knew poverty. We didn't know profit. We didn't know prosperity. And if that's all you've seen and heard your entire life, it is a journey to come out of that space. But we are diligent every single day through educating our children. And as we educate them, we get them to begin to believe that's possible. I get to be an example to them, and I know it's a journey. So we work with the children, and we also work with the parents. Some people have it, some people don't. But we get to work with the families to say, this is possible. And I get to try to be that example for them.
Why I brought that up is I've not walked that path. I haven't come from a great deal of abundance. I came from a family of four siblings myself, and my parents were blue collar workers, and they worked really hard and they did the best they could. And when we started this pre-show, we talked about one of my favorite mentors, a fellow who's now deceased, but an American out of the Seattle area, and his famous claim to fame was he was a high school football coach, and not a very good one when he started out. And he went from $1,000 a month, I think he said, raising, I don't know, 19 foster and adopted children. And he says in his teaching, he took the vow of poverty by becoming a teacher, right? But he got more education and decided there was actually a Canadian prof that went to school, and I can't find anything on her, but she was influential to him getting out of his own poverty because he came out of welfare himself. He ended up having the father role and helping other people to get out of that place. So I can only live it by reading the stories because we weren't that impoverished. We were, worker bees, but I learned about a whole bunch of good stuff, but not walked your walk, obviously. That's why I'm excited that you're here. And why am I tying this to Lou Tice? Well, one of the things that resonated with me was he did his testimonials in a different kind of sort of way. He would say, well, maybe you're thinking this stuff is pretty good for those guys. They're affluent, they do all this sort of stuff. He says, well, think about this. What if you had, I don't know, a couple of hundred or maybe a couple of thousand invoices that were based on a 2-year program of people on welfare and getting them off welfare to be productive citizens in their community. And if they were productive, then the invoice would get paid. We had a lot of invoices paid, he said. So what I like about what he's doing and what you're about is helping people recognize where their current reality is and what the possibility for the future is, and then helping them with ways to get there. What are your the mechanics, or what are the things that you're doing to help the young people shift from that lack mindset to the possibility mindset?
Again, that's a great question, Dr. Coach Phil. The key is that we try to let them see things have to grow, and things that grow take time. And so part of our curriculum on our property at the Foundry, we have a community garden.
Oh,
And as the community garden, what you see is that different families will have their own plot. And but not only do families have their plot, we set aside a plot for our students, and they plant something, and they get to water it and care for it and watch it grow. So just letting them see it takes time to grow, but it requires an investment. It requires intentional effort. And so, and our teachers are phenomenal. And our teachers love the work there because they know they're changing the lives of these students and their families. And so when you create the right culture, that is a culture of love, it's a culture of nurturing, but it's also a culture of growing. And I am convinced without a doubt that every one of our students will excel. The results of what we've been doing as they go from pre-K to kindergarten, our students are excelling at the next level. When they get to third grade, they're able to read at third grade level, right? And if you can't read third grade level, you can't get fifth grade math. If you can't get fifth grade math, you can't get seventh grade science. It's a personal profitability for them as well as their own families.
right. So what you're helping them do is build their own self-efficacy. That's probably not a word that although, a lot of kids might be able to say that word. It took me a while to get it. It's probably one of my favorite words ever. And I learned that from Lee Tice again. Really, in simple terms, for anybody who wonders what that word means, it's just our causative power, our ability to get stuff done. And it's the other side of the coin of self-esteem, right?
Exactly.
We have high self-efficacy.
Yes, our belief that we can achieve anything is so important.
It sounds like you're helping them get blocks to build to the next step. That's what I heard in your explanation, from planting the garden, grade 3 math, grade 5, or grade 3 reading to grade 5 math, etc.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm thinking some of that stuff, because you don't hang out in that space all the time. I know you have a practice that where you work with some senior level C-suite executives. And I'm thinking the principles of what you just described that worked at the early stages of life are applicable to the older stage of life. Would that be an accurate assumption?
That is a very accurate assumption. It all has to tie together. One of my favorite words, Coach Phil, is rhythm.
Oh,
That's one of my favorite words. And so everything that is in my mind as a pastor, everything in creation is in rhythm. The only thing that's out of rhythm is humanity. And so the thing that we have to figure out, how do we get back in rhythm with all that is available to us? And whether I'm doing that with our students and their families and that entire West End of Bowling Green, I'm also helping leaders find that rhythm with their own personal lives as well as their businesses and or organizations. Everything must be in rhythm, whether it's a conversation one-on-one with an individual or it's a conversation with one on 5 or one on 1500. I've got to find rhythm. And when I get that rhythm, man, I'm telling you, it's a powerful way to impact myself as well as the others, trying to find that rhythm. So it's all the pieces, as you said, the building blocks, they have to come together. And so that, as a business coach, as an executive coach, that is my aim, as you read in my bio, helping leaders keep their eye on the prize. It's easy to get drawn down into the weeds of our day to day, but that's not rhythmic. It's rhythm to get in with everything that's going on around me, I don't take a day off or a minute off from being in rhythm.
I've never heard of it explained as rhythm. I kind of like that. In your experience, are you in that rhythm? Are you working with the executives to get buy-in from the janitor all the way up to the worker bees, to the middle management, to the next level, VP level?
I'll give you an example, Coach Phil. One, here in Bowling Green, as you say, VP of HR at the Chamber of Commerce, right? And so that is a client in that I sit in that seat, I sit in that office, and I am watching the moving of parts for the entire city and the region from the chamber. All growth of businesses coming in, business development, all those things are happening at the chamber. So I get to watch that. The other part of that is that I have the privilege of coaching city leaders, whether it's our city manager, our form of government is the city manager, and all of the departments, chief of police, fire, report up to him. So I get to coach the city manager. I get to coach the chief of police. I get to coach the fire chief. I get to coach the IT director. I get to coach the HR director. And so I am part of all the rhythm of all of Bowling Green. And so that's what I mean by once I can get into space, I can be able to move and levers through coaching that makes the greater good happen. Because there's a greater good in any area. So if I can do that in my city, and then if I work with organizations, everyone is important.
Mm.
Whether it's the janitor or whether it's the administrative assistant or the CEO, everybody's got to be in rhythm for the organization to thrive. If they're not in rhythm, something's off. Guess what? It's hard to achieve, and I've got to do a workaround, which is so ineffective.
Yeah, and the eyes of the other people in the organization, custodian, janitor, shipping, receiving people, they see things that the C-suite don't even know what's going on. So they can increase the efficiencies and the effectiveness of the operations of the company if the C-suite's open enough to it. One of the things I was introduced to is a Newtonian versus Whiteheadian approach to leadership. Newtonian is from the top down, do it my way or take the highway. So it's a very coercive approach to leadership. Whereas Whiteheadian is who's best suitable. So I have defined that in my own thinking as being amoebic. I don't think amoebic's a real word, but I made it up because that's how I see it. So amoebas, they move, they're malleable, right? So if you have a culture where they're amoebic, everybody's part of it. So it's somebody that's not dependent, it's in interdependence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's got the strength or has the passion for it probably would do a better job than somebody who is doing it on a have-to basis. The Whiteheadian method is to get people that want to do it, choose to do it, might even love to do it. And what I've done, what I've experienced in my own leadership is when I've allowed people to have that expression of themselves, more stuff gets done, and in ways I would never even imagine. I'm just there to help and guide and keep my hand on the rudder, like keep the vision, like you were saying.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I share quite often is, sometimes you're either working in your wax or you're working in your flame, right? And so it's easy to work in your wax. It's just mundane. It's stuff we have to do to put food on the table. Those are things that we have to do. But when I'm working in my flame, I feel like I get to do, right? And so, and that's passion. It's heart is filled. It's everything that brings about that joy in life. And so I think it's important that when we can begin to work in our flame, even the things that are mundane can be flame, because I've got to tie them to something that's the greater good of what we're trying to achieve, whether it's in an organization or with a family, or with a team. It doesn't matter. That eventual output is what drives us. And so figuring out how to work in my flame, and poverty and profitability, it may start with poverty, Profitability is not a dirty word.
No.
It's a good word.
You said something, and I would like to roll back. And if you can imagine, I got a coach hat on. We're both coaches.
Okay.
But I'm going to coach you a bit, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And it could be an idea that helps you keep your flame going stronger, brighter, and more powerful, more heat. And I got this from Lou Tice again. And you said, putting food on the table, I got to do that. I'm going to challenge you on that. You don't got to do that. As long as you're okay with the consequences. Now, not put food on the table creates a whole bunch of other things. People are hungry, they'll find ways to get it and may not be on the honorable, might turn into thieves. So if you don't want the consequences of that or possibly starving to death, you shift it to, I get to put food on the table.
Yes.
I want to put food on the table. That helps keep the flame going and get you out of the wax. It's such a subtle thing. If you help your people that you serve shift that little bit, it's like the kaleidoscope. I come to that a lot. It's if we turn the kaleidoscope, we get a different view. So if you just shift, anytime you hear yourself or your kids or your clients say, I have to, you have to, and then get them to explain it. And they say, well, if I don't, okay. So what you're saying is you don't like the consequences if you don't do this. Well, that's true. Okay. So you choose to do this because you prefer the outcome on this side versus the possibility of the not such a great experience. And if you get them to think like that, they'll find creative ways to, that's part of that Whiteheadian approach to life. Really impactful for me.
I mean, and great challenge. Great challenge, Coach Phil, because it is a get to, and just think about that. If we do that and put that mindset in those children and in those parents and families in that West End area, they get to. That's a whole different shift. And you know, if we take the mindset, we're working from cradle to career with these children. We understand that we are in it for the long haul. We're in cradle to career.
So I told you I might be bringing up a few banners if they fit, and this one does fit. So the problem is a good thing if the opportunity or the challenge. So taking I have to I get to moves it from a problem to a challenge. And then when we get really bought into that idea, you can say, what's the gift in this, or what's the opportunity that's in front of me? I may not see it right now, but being a solution-focused, oriented individual, we're vibrating at a different level. We're more likely, our causative power is turned on, not our, because we can have creative power both on a positive side and a negative side. And in a role as a coach, I think it's our responsibility to help people find the creative side of that so that they see opportunity versus problem, or they embrace a problem as an opportunity to be more fire or fuel for their flame, using your example there.
Yeah, you're right. And I love that problem, challenge, opportunity. Guess what? The problem exists. And as we as coaches understand, some people can be victims and some people can be victors. And that's a choice. But the problem is there. The challenge is real, but the opportunity is just as real. The opportunity is just as real as the problem.
Are you familiar with Harv Eker? Well, T. Harv Eker.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
He has an expression, and I just want to give the IP credit to him, where thoughts go, energy shows, and flows, and results show. So where thoughts go, energy flows, and results show. So if we don't like the results, actually, I have another one in here. I learned this from Jack Canfield. Somebody he was studying brought it up. It's this: E plus R equals O. So the event or the result, that's not R. That's not right. R is something else. My brain's not working today. Event, response. That's what it is. How we respond, how we show up, and then the outcome. So if we don't like the outcome, change one or both of those E plus R's.
Experience plus the response equals the outcome.
Right. So if we're not happy with life, and if we want to take the thing that, one of the keys to being a victor is taking responsibility. So if we take responsibility and recognize that we're not making enough money, we're not happy enough, we're not in love enough where whatever is lacking, and if we take ownership of it, we can go back to E plus R equals and change one or both of those. So stop eating donuts and all day and eat, I don't know, something healthier, celery.
Well, I think as we talk about that, profitability is not a dirty word. If that is my reality of event, okay, when I started my business, again, me offering and asking for some of the the revenue at a price point was not easy. It was uncomfortable. And I don't know if that was because I didn't think I was worthy or deserving, because all I understood was poverty.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand prosperity. I didn't understand profitability. And so, me beginning this business and me trying to get positioned, I've been blessed with the experiences that I've had or the education that I've achieved, but I still wasn't feeling that I was worthy of the number that should go with coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while. I'm talking about our children at the Foundry. It took a while for me to say, I can charge this number because I know the value that I bring is going to be transformative, and I know they're going to get more than they were expecting because of my coaching, because I bring to bear all the things that I have been through or have experienced, right? And so, not believing in myself to ask for that price point was a challenge. But I've gotten to the point now where profitability is not a dirty word. It's what we do, and so I know what I offer is worth the price point, but I've got to stick to that.
The time runs really fast on the business renovator because I always have great conversations, and you're no exception. I want to ask you a question going back to the kids part of this, because that's the foundation of what you're helping move forward, and you're helping the adults as well. I get that. Is there an example or that you can tell us really quickly from the youth side of it where you've seen one or two shining stars blossom that you would tell us about?
There was one student. He was the nephew of a ball player at the university, and the ball player was trying to raise his nephew, 4-year-old, trying to play football, travel, practice. He calls us up. The wife of the football coach calls me and asks, "Is there anything we can do to help him with caring for the child?" Long story short, we were able to get the child in our school. The child, knew me as Mr. Terry, and he and I became friends because I met the player as well as the child. That child came in, and within 2 months, he was a natural fit in the class. He was learning very fast. The player has been able to do well at the school, well in his academics as well as in his athletics. But it's being able to watch that child come in, get settled in, and begin to make an impact for himself and his development. That was last year. He's still an exceptional kid this year, and he's just blossoming. So that's just one example of one student, and we get that over and over again. We have a lot of diversity in our school. Hispanics, we have 5 different languages.
Wow.
So we have a lot of diversity in our school.
That's the way of the world, though, today, right?
Yes, it is.
And those that don't embrace it are crazy, because the gains, the benefits that you get from all of that experience is amazing. I've been fortunate enough to work with a variety of different companies, and one of them, well, 2 of them, were a global entity, and because of that, we had people from all over the world that came to. I'm in Canada, and so I met people from the Middle East, from Australia, Germany, like we're all in the same company. It's just fascinating listening to what they do. One fellow he spoke 5 languages, and well, plus system languages, right? Because of computer languages. It was just amazing. And you can't go, well, I'm going to say you can't go to school for that experience, but I guess you can. But the diversification, what we can learn from each other if we're not afraid of each other, and if we're open to and get out of our we're better than you, or don't be afraid of people, get to know who they are, get to know who they are. That's obviously my opinion. I can't speak for everybody, but that's where I found it's been really beneficial. Is there one nugget that you would like to make sure that we impart on our audiences?
I would say again, just the believe in yourself that you are worth what you're able to give. Give it without expecting receive, but believe that you're worth what you're able to give. So
I just put this up because I think this sums it up. We're both in the BS business. I'm proud of it. Believe to see. You won't see it until you believe it.
Believe to see.
Gary, I have to thank you for, and I wish we could talk longer. But I'm going to thank you for fitting us in today and attending the Business Renovator with me. Learning from you and learning from your kids through you has been fascinating and eye-opening for me. So I'm grateful that you were here, and thanks for being with me.
Coach, Bill, thanks so much.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks.
Well, there you go. There's some insight, some real living, going from poverty to profitability himself, as well as the people he's helping, young and older. It's fascinating. And on that note, I want to share something with you all. It's this. Remember to be this. Notice the you is large like life. Show up and be wonderful, because guess what? You are wonderful. Share this out. And if you're watching on a replay, hashtag replay, let us know where you're watching it from. This is Coach Phil signing off. Another episode of the Business Renovator.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.